Have you ever stood at the edge of an opportunity, your heart racing, your palms sweaty, asking yourself that devastating question, what if they will laugh? Sarah is a brilliant software engineer from South Korea working at a tech company in Silicon Valley. Despite her exceptional skills, she rarely spoke up in meetings. Her English was good, but her accent was noticeable, and she was terrified that her colleagues would laugh at her pronunciation or judge her ideas. For 2 years, Sarah watched as less qualified colleagues received promotions while she remained in the same position. She had innovative solutions to complex problems, but her fear kept her silent. The cost wasn't just professional, it was personal. She began to doubt her abilities and question her worth. Fear of judgment creates an invisible prison. The bars are made of what-ifs, and the lock is forged from our own imagination. Inside this prison, we convince ourselves we're safe, but we're actually dying a slow death, the death of potential. When we think about missed chances, we use these structures. I should have spoken up. If only I had tried. I wish I hadn't been so afraid. I could have achieved so much more. Our fear doesn't just affect us. It affects everyone around us. When we stay silent, we deprive others of our insights, our perspectives, and our contributions. The world becomes a little less rich because we chose safety over authenticity. Consider the inventions that were never created, the books that were never written, the movements that were never started, all because someone was too afraid of being laughed at. The cost is immeasurable. The most powerful shift you can make is changing your relationship with the question itself. Instead of letting, "What if they will laugh?" paralyze you, ask yourself, "So what if they do?" This simple reframe transforms you from a victim of potential judgment into someone who acknowledges the possibility but chooses to act anyway. It's the difference between being controlled by fear and being empowered by choice. Let's examine what actually happens when people laugh at us. It's temporary. Laughter lasts for seconds or minutes, not forever. It's often not malicious. People laugh for many reasons, not always to hurt. It reveals more about them. How people react says more about their character than yours. It's survivable. You've probably been laughed at before and survived. And it's forgettable. Most people forget quickly and move on. The truth is that laughter is temporary. In reality, most people don't judge as harshly as we think. Actually, being laughed at isn't the end of the world. The fact is that we often imagine worse scenarios than what actually happens. Resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about getting back up every time you do. When we build mental resilience around the fear of judgment, we develop what psychologists call emotional immunity. You can build this resilience through exposure therapy. Start small and deliberately put yourself in low-stakes situations where you might be judged. Ask a question you think might sound silly. Share an opinion that others might disagree with. Each small exposure builds your tolerance. Success isn't avoiding laughter. Success is acting despite the possibility of it. Every time you speak up, you win, regardless of the reaction. Keep a journal of times you took risks despite fear. Notice that the consequences are rarely as bad as you imagined. Think of confidence like a bank account. Every time you act despite fear, you make a deposit. Every time you let fear stop you, you make a withdrawal. The goal is to build a positive balance over time. Small deposits you can make daily include asking a question in a meeting, complimenting a stranger, sharing an opinion on social media, trying something new, or admitting when you don't understand something. One of the best ways to reduce fear is through preparation. When you feel prepared, you're more likely to take action despite anxiety. Research your topic thoroughly. Practice your presentation or speech. Anticipate potential questions or challenges. Have a backup plan, and visualize success. Brené Brown's research shows us that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. When we allow ourselves to be seen, really seen, including our imperfections and uncertainties, we tap into incredible power. People are drawn to authenticity like flowers to sunlight. When you show up as your real self, including your fears and uncertainties, you give others permission to do the same. This creates deeper connections and more meaningful relationships. Remember Sarah from our earlier story? She finally decided she couldn't live in fear anymore. In her next team meeting, when discussing a complex algorithm problem, she raised her hand. "I have idea," she said, her accent thick with nervousness. Maybe we try different approach. A few people smiled, not mockingly, but encouragingly. Her manager leaned forward, interested. Sarah's idea wasn't just good, it was revolutionary. It saved the company 6 months of development time and earned her a promotion. The laughter she feared never came. Instead, her vulnerability opened doors she never imagined. Grammar focus, expressing personal change. "I used to be afraid, but now I'm more confident. I've learned to embrace my imperfections. I'm becoming more comfortable with uncertainty. I've started to see vulnerability as strength. When we're vulnerable, we invite connection. People relate to struggle, to fear, to imperfection. They don't relate to facades of perfection. Your accent, your mistakes, your uncertainty, these aren't barriers to connection. They're bridges. Throughout history, the people we most admire were often laughed at first. Thomas Edison was told he was too stupid to learn anything by his teachers. People laughed at his impossible ideas about electric light. He failed over 1,000 times before successfully creating the light bulb. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job for being unfit for television news. Critics said she was too emotional and too invested in her stories. She went on to become one of the most influential media personalities in history. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination and having no good ideas. His first animation company went bankrupt. People laughed at the idea of a full-length animated movie. Snow White became a massive success. These individuals shared common characteristics: vision beyond criticism. They could see their goal more clearly than the obstacles. Persistence in the face of doubt. They continued despite setbacks. Growth mindset. They viewed failures as learning opportunities. And internal validation. They didn't depend on others' approval for their self-worth. Despite the criticism, she continued working. Although people doubted him, he never gave up. Even though they laughed, she pursued her dream. In spite of the setbacks, he remained determined. Today's innovators face the same challenges. Elon Musk was widely mocked for his ideas about electric cars and space travel. Tesla and SpaceX were called impossible ventures by industry experts. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before someone finally accepted Harry Potter. Critics said children wouldn't read books that long. Colonel Sanders was laughed at when he tried to franchise his chicken recipe at age 65. He was rejected 1,009 times before someone said yes to KFC. Here's a practical framework for facing your fears called the BRAVE method. B stands for breathe and ground yourself. When fear strikes, your body goes into fight or flight mode. Slow, deep breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system and helps you think clearly. Try the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, exhale for 8 counts, and repeat 3 to 4 times. R means reframe the situation. Challenge your fear-based thoughts by asking, what's the worst that could realistically happen? How will this matter in 5 years? What would I tell my best friend in this situation? A stands for act despite the fear. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in the presence of fear. Take one small step forward. V represents validate your effort. Celebrate the fact that you tried, regardless of the outcome. This builds positive associations with taking risks. E means evaluate and learn. After the experience, reflect on what happened versus what you feared would happen. Use this information to face future challenges. Learning English as a second language is one of the most common situations where people fear being laughed at. Your accent, grammar mistakes, and vocabulary limitations can make you feel vulnerable and exposed. Common English learning fears include, my pronunciation is terrible. I make too many grammar mistakes. My vocabulary is limited. I don't understand cultural references, and I speak too slowly. Instead of seeing your English learning journey as a source of potential embarrassment, reframe it as a badge of courage. You're brave enough to communicate in a language that isn't your first. See it as bridge building. You're connecting across cultures and creating understanding. View it as a growth mindset in action. You're actively developing yourself. Consider it an inspiration to others. You show others what's possible when you push past comfort zones. Your accent isn't a flaw to hide. It's a unique part of your identity. Many of the world's most successful English speakers have noticeable accents. Arnold Schwarzenegger has an Austrian accent and became governor of California. Penelope Cruz has a Spanish accent and is an Academy Award winner. Jackie Chan has a Chinese accent and is an international movie star. Priyanka Chopra has an Indian accent and is a global entertainment icon. My accent is part of who I am. I'm proud of my multilingual abilities. My background brings unique perspectives. I'm not trying to hide where I come from. Focus on communication, not perfection. The goal is to be understood, not to sound like a native speaker. If your message gets across, you've succeeded. Embrace your mistakes because every mistake is a learning opportunity. Native speakers make mistakes too. Find your English-speaking tribe by surrounding yourself with supportive people who encourage your language learning journey. Practice self-compassion by being as kind to yourself as you would be to a friend learning your native language. Celebrate progress by noticing how far you've come, not just how far you have to go. No one overcomes fear alone. Building a strong support system is crucial for developing the courage to face judgment and criticism. You need different types of support. Cheerleaders who believe in you unconditionally and celebrate your efforts. coaches who help you improve and give constructive feedback, challengers who push you out of your comfort zone, and companions who are on similar journeys and understand your struggles. Create safe spaces where you can practice being vulnerable without fear of harsh judgment. Join language exchange groups to practice English with others who are also learning. Consider Toastmasters clubs to develop public speaking skills in a supportive environment. Connect through professional associations with others in your field. Find online communities focused on personal development and growth. Having a mentor who has overcome similar fears can be transformational. A good mentor shares their own struggles and failures, provides perspective during difficult times, offers practical advice based on experience, and believes in your potential even when you don't. One of the most powerful ways to overcome your own fears is to help others overcome theirs. When you encourage someone else to take risks and be vulnerable, you reinforce these values in yourself. I believe in you. You've got this. I'm here to support you. You're braver than you think. Every expert was once a beginner. Understanding the neuroscience behind fear can help you work with your brain rather than against it. When you perceive a threat like potential judgment, your amygdala triggers a fight or flight response. This happens faster than conscious thought, which is why fear feels so immediate and overwhelming. Your prefrontal cortex is your brain's rational center. It can override the amygdala's panic response, but only if you give it time to engage. This is why techniques like deep breathing and pausing are so effective. Your brain can change throughout your life. Every time you act courageously despite fear, you literally rewire your neural pathways. You're training your brain to respond differently to perceived threats. The courage spiral works like this. Your first act of courage feels terrifying but manageable. Your brain learns the action wasn't actually dangerous. The next similar situation feels slightly less scary. Continued practice builds courage, muscle memory, and eventually, what once terrified you becomes routine. Just like physical exercise, courage builds through consistent practice. Small, regular acts of bravery are more effective than occasional grand gestures. The same energy that creates fear can be transformed into excitement and motivation. The physical sensations are nearly identical. Increased heart rate, heightened awareness, burst of energy. The difference is in how you interpret these feelings. I'm gradually becoming more confident. My courage is slowly building. I'm learning to manage my fear better. Each experience makes the next one easier. Reframe physical sensations. Butterfly feelings become, I'm excited and ready. Racing heart becomes, I'm energized and alive. Sweaty palms become, I care about this moment. And nervous energy becomes, I'm preparing for something important. Professional performers, athletes, and public speakers know a secret. They don't try to eliminate nervousness. They learn to use it. Nervous energy can sharpen focus, increase alertness, and enhance performance when channeled correctly. Techniques to channel nervous energy include physical movement like doing jumping jacks or stretching before important moments, positive self-talk by replacing I'm nervous with I'm excited, visualization by seeing yourself succeeding and feeling confident, and breathing exercises using controlled breathing to focus energy. Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset shows that people who believe abilities can be developed through effort are more likely to embrace challenges and learn from failures. A fixed mindset says, I'm not good at public speaking. I'll never speak English well. Or, I'm just not brave. A growth mindset says, I'm getting better at public speaking. I'm improving my English every day, and I'm learning to be braver. I'm not good at this yet. I can learn to do this better. This is challenging, but I can grow. Mistakes help me improve. Just like any other skill, building courage requires intentional practice and clear goals. Your courage goals should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Example: courage goals include, I will ask one question in every team meeting this month. I will give one presentation to my department by the end of the quarter. I will join a public speaking group within 2 weeks. Or, I will have one conversation with a native English speaker each week. Break down big, scary goals into smaller, manageable steps using a courage ladder. For speaking in public, start by sharing your opinion in a small group of friends, then ask a question in a team meeting. Volunteer to present to your department. Join Toastmasters or a similar group. Give a presentation to a larger audience. And finally, speak at an industry conference. Each step builds confidence for the next one. Share your courage goals with supportive people who will check in on your progress. Accountability partners can provide regular check-ins on progress, celebrate your successes, provide encouragement during setbacks, and share their own courage journeys. Keep a courage journal where you record what you did that required courage, how you felt before, during, and after, what you learned from the experience, and how you'll apply this learning next time. Grammar focus, making commitments and plans. I'm committed to improving my confidence. I plan to challenge myself regularly. I will practice speaking up more often. I'm going to join a group that supports my goals. After all this exploration, we return to our original question. What if they will laugh? But now we can answer it differently. So what if they do? I'm living my authentic life, pursuing my dreams, and growing every day. Their laughter says more about them than it does about me. And most importantly, I refuse to let the possibility of judgment rob me of the possibility of joy, success, and fulfillment. When you live courageously, you inspire others to do the same. Your willingness to be vulnerable gives others permission to be vulnerable. Your courage becomes contagious. Think about the people who have inspired you. Chances are, they were people who showed up authentically, who took risks, who weren't perfect but were real. You can be that person for others. Once you move beyond the paralyzing fear of judgment, you discover something wonderful. Most people are not sitting around waiting to judge you. They're too busy dealing with their own fears and insecurities. And those few who do judge harshly, they're usually the people who are most afraid of being judged themselves. Their criticism comes from their own pain, not from any truth about you. True freedom comes from this simple equation. Self-worth equals internal validation plus continuous growth plus authentic expression. When your sense of worth comes from within, when you're committed to growing, and when you express your authentic self, external judgment loses its power over you. I believe in being true to myself. I value growth over comfort. I choose courage over fear. I'm committed to living authentically. You have the power to write a new story for your life. Instead of, I'm the person who stays quiet because I'm afraid of judgment, you can write, I'm the person who speaks up for what matters, even when it's scary. Through this journey, we've discovered that the fear of being laughed at is universal, but not insurmountable. Often worse in our imagination than in reality, a barrier to authentic living and personal growth, transformable from paralysis to power, and conquerable through gradual exposure and practice. As you continue developing your English skills, remember that every mistake is a step forward. Every conversation is practice, and every moment of vulnerability is an act of courage. Your accent, your grammar mistakes, your occasional confusion. These are not flaws to hide, but evidence of your bravery in communicating across linguistic boundaries. Overcoming the fear of judgment isn't a destination. It's an ongoing adventure. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and times when the old fears resurface. This is normal and part of the process. The difference now is that you have tools, understanding, and most importantly, the knowledge that you've been brave before and can be brave again. Consider this your formal invitation to speak up in your next meeting. Share your ideas even if they're not perfect. Ask questions even if they seem obvious. Express your opinions even if others might disagree. Be yourself. Even if some people don't understand, take risks even if you might fail, and live fully even if others might laugh. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not those who never face the question, what if they will laugh? They're the people who face that question and answer, then they laugh. And I live my life anyway. Your dreams are waiting on the other side of your fear. Your authentic self is ready to emerge. Your voice is needed in this world. The only question that remains is, what are you waiting for? Take action today. Your future self will thank you. Throughout this journey, we've explored over 100 key vocabulary words and phrases that will help you express yourself more confidently in English. We've also practiced essential grammar structures for expressing fears, making commitments, describing change, and articulating personal beliefs. Remember, language learning, like courage building, is a gradual process. Be patient with yourself, celebrate progress, and keep moving forward. The world needs your voice. Don't let the fear of laughter keep it silent any longer. Your courage journey starts now.